Let's talk about the playoff rankings last night and the inclusion of Alabama, the exclusion of everybody's favorite team, South Carolina, and
not yours,
buddy. I never understood the South Carolina love relative to getting the 11 spot. I mean, that's just jumping two teams that beat you. This is just nonsensical. But
I think Miami losing caused this. More than anything else, right? Because, I mean, I'm a person that believes in head-to-head, but at the same time, like right now, South Carolina is the better team than Ole Miss and than Alabama, I think. But so it's just a weird thing. I would not have gotten mad either way, if that makes sense, right? But I don't know.
Here's the ranking real quick. Oregon 1, Texas 2, Penn State 3, Notre Dame 4, Georgia 5, Ohio State 6. Ohio State 6. Ohio State 6 after losing to unranked Michigan at home. They drop.
They were a 21-point favorite.
And they barely drop. Yeah. Georgia loses on the road. They dropped 9 spots. Make that make sense. Anyway.
How many?
They dropped 9 spots.
Nine spots.
Ohio State 6, Tennessee 7, SMU 8, Indiana 9, Boise State 10, the magic number, Alabama at 11, Miami at 12, Ole Miss 13, South Carolina 14, the two participants of the Big 12 championship at 15 and 16, Arizona State and Iowa State, Clemson at 17, which that spot doesn't matter, but give me a break.
They should be lower, but
so we can stop there.
I really truly think that Alabama's not going to get in. I think even if Clemson wins, if Clemson wins, I guess they're going to get in if SMU wins, right?
They will get in if SMU wins.
If Clemson wins, I think SMU gets in. I don't think SMU drops out.
I agree with that. And that will create. You know what's going to happen? I think Richard and I mentioned this tomorrow. But if Clemson beats SMU, and SMU gets in over Alabama or Ole Miss or South Carolina, Greg Sankey will change the playoff format on Monday.
It'll be changed
on Monday. It may not be announced on Monday. It'll be done on Monday.
Can't have that.
You can't
possibly have an ACC team getting over a fourth SEC team.
You cannot have SMU getting in over Alabama.
And look,
can't have it.
It's not that they got in over Ole Miss and South Carolina.
It's Alabama.
It's that they got in over Alabama. Yeah, I mean, and Alabama did this. The truth about this is, South Carolina is the one team where you can say they didn't do this themselves, right?
But when you lose by 24 at home to a team in front of you.
No, I agree with that. But I'm saying, like, of their 3 losses, the loss to Alabama was a close one. They did get handled easily by Ole Miss. The LSU loss stands out because Sellers was hurt. And I know what people are going to say about, well, Trey Harris was, I know. But you and I both know that it's different when your quarterback is hurt versus when a wide receiver is hurt. It just is. Unless that guy's Randy Moss. And as good as Trey Harris is, he's not Randy Moss. So, with Ole Miss, at the end of the day, Ole Miss has the worst loss in that bunch. The Kentucky loss is killing them. Kentucky didn't win another SEC game this year.
Their other wins are, what, Murray State,
Ohio, Ole Miss, and then they beat somebody else. It doesn't matter. They were 3-1 in the non-conference. They were 1-7 in the conference, and that one is at Ole, and it's at home too. It's just a bad, awful loss.
And that's the thing. So the discussion around this for sometimes people just miss this part of it, because I like just talking about playoff and debating it and stuff like that. And 12 teams have to make this thing. They're all flawed. Ole Miss exclusively has themselves to blame for being left out last night. It is 150% their fault. And for all of the lobbying that Lane Kiffin's doing, look, it's you want your coach to fight for his team, right? You want to see that. You want him to go to bat for your guys, and I get that. But the first place he needs to look for why Ole Miss was left out is a mirror.
Yeah.
First place he needs to look.
Or, a depth chart and circle the name Ulysses Bentley if you just play that.
Something like that.
I'm so sad I missed out on. I was totally right that Ulysses Bentley was going to have a monster day against Ole Miss. Against Mississippi State, I mean.
Well, of course. And then the fallout that came from that. But it's exclusively Ole Miss's fault. What I was telling Richard yesterday, and what he called me a tinfoil hat conspiracy guy with, is
You're going to feel bad when I tell you who we forgot that Kentucky beat. Southern Miss.
Oh, Southern Miss. That's right. Week 1.
That's right.
A game that got canceled.
Yeah. Well, they played
a little bit of it.
Two and a third of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Alabama being in front of Ole Miss makes sense absent brand bias. Like, you can make a compelling argument for why Alabama is in front of Ole Miss. Now, you can also make an argument in favor of Ole Miss. I've seen it out there. I understand it. You guys don't have to tell me. I know. The margin of victory against common opponents favors Ole Miss over Alabama. Mm-hmm. So that's there. If Ole Miss is getting punished for the Florida loss, Alabama did not get punished for Oklahoma at all, who beat them by 3 touchdowns 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So I understand the frustration there. But you can make a compelling argument for Alabama in front of Ole Miss. So, like, the committee is absolved there because you can make that argument. Alabama jumping Miami, but Miami staying in front of Ole Miss in South Carolina makes no sense to me. If Alabama's resume is good enough to jump Miami's, how is South Carolina's not good enough to jump Miami's? Take Ole Miss out of it for a second.
Miami should either be in front of all 3 SEC teams or behind all
or
SEC.
None of them.
Oh, yeah. They should not be in the middle. They did that on purpose.
They did that. They did that for brand.
They did it just for aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'll look bad if Miami's in front of all these teams. It'll look bad if Miami's behind all these teams. Just put them somewhere in the middle.
Absolutely. And I think this is where Richard called me a conspiracy theorist. I think it doesn't matter what Alabama's resume was. Like, I believe that you can make a compelling case for them being at 11. I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine with their inclusion. I get the frustration for Ole Miss fans, but I'm fine with it. Makes sense. If Alabama had Ole Miss's resume and Ole Miss had Alabama's resume, Alabama would still be at number 11. They were going to get the last spot. It was never going to be South Carolina. It was never going to be Ole Miss, regardless of what the arguments and the compelling nature of them are. As long as Alabama had an argument, they were getting the 11 spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know it. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Just the same way that going a few weeks back, I told you that I was not going to be surprised if Georgia was ahead of Ole Miss, even if Ole Miss beat them. I was never going to be surprised because these are people, and they have agendas, and they want the most TV ratings they can get. And Alabama brings TV ratings. You tell me. I mean,
they do. They do.
You tell me that the 6-11 game is Alabama traveling to Notre Dame? Buddy,
that'll break a record.
I'm ordering pizza, wings, hold my calls, my faxes, and my emails. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm locked in.
Yeah.
And so are 15 to 18 million other people.
And you said they make it up as they go. Here is perfect evidence for what you said being 100% true. This was Ward Manuel, the athletic director at Michigan and the chair of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. Here's the question. You gave some great data points on the show in terms of Alabama in comparison to Miami. I'm wondering then why Miami stays ahead of Ole Miss in South Carolina, who also have several top 25 wins. Remember, Miami does not. Here's Ward Manuel's quote. Yeah, I think in terms of the analysis of how everything played, I just want to say to everyone on the call, these are not easy decisions for us to make as we look through it. Meaning we just don't come to the answer and say, these are how the teams should be ranked. There's a lot of conversation and back and forth between them. In Miami, up until the last 3 weeks, they've had a very good season. They've lost 2 in the last 3 weeks. Mississippi, for example, has a win against Georgia, as you know, a win against South Carolina, but they have a loss against Kentucky, the loss in overtime against LSU. Sometimes their offense is putting up a lot of points. Defense leads the country in a lot of sacks. Miami, top offense in the country with 44 points and over 500 yards per game, so it's really close. It's not just one data point over the other. We just try to take a look, not try, we do take a look at their body of work to evaluate them and make decisions.
Did he refer to them as Mississippi?
He did. But what? What?
What
did he just say?
It was a word salad. Greg Sankey could have done that. I mean, it was just...
That said nothing.
Yeah.
You know what that said?
I'm impressed.
Because we just did.
Yeah.
Why did you rank Miami in front of Ole Miss and South Carolina? Because we just did.
Why didn't you rank them in front of them? That's what he's asking.
But
guys,
Miami was good until 3 weeks ago? That's your answer?
And look. I'm still cool. I'm still going to watch all these games and enjoy the hell out of them.
Every snap of them.
I won't miss any of it. But I never for 1 second thought that there was going to be like some structured format for this. It's just people making decisions based on what they want to see. And, in their cases, it got made difficult for them. Alabama beats Oklahoma. We don't have these kind of discussions.
Ole Miss beats Kentucky. We don't have these discussions.
Ole Miss beats Kentucky. Miami beats Syracuse. We're not having these discussions today. But we have to have them because games happened.
Games happen. Sports Talk Mississippi. I love this stuff, though. I mean, that quote is so – I mean, it's just nonsense. Mm-hmm. And I eat it up. I just do. We go. 601-879-4395, the C Spire text line. Somebody says, so even if SMU loses, do you guys think that their strength of schedule should be taken into account when comparing them to Alabama, South Carolina, and Ole Miss? So it would exclusively be about them in Miami?
Yeah.
South Carolina and Ole Miss are out. They're not making it. They're out. SMU.
I'm going to hold off on that, tearing up my ticket until I see the final bracket, though. I would hate to be an idiot.
If you believe the committee chair at his word, SMU's not going to be left out if they lose to Clemson in the ACC championship game. And frankly, this is the bed that they're stuck lying in. Why should Miami get in over SMU? SMU had a better record in the same conference, and they had to play an extra game. So Miami gets to sit at home and do nothing, and they get in over SMU? No, that doesn't make sense to me. It can't happen. SMU is going to stay in.
I agree.
Should that be that way? That's a different debate. Will that be that way? Yeah. Yeah, it will. Ward should have just said, because we said so, absolutely. Somebody says, I think Borky is right. Remember that. It's Bama or nothing. That's absolutely accurate.
Yeah.
Miami wouldn't get in over them. It's only Alabama in question. Well, in that, Alabama could get in over SMU, I suppose. I don't think it'll happen that way, and I think that will be the end. Because here's what's going to happen. If SMU loses with the best record in the ACC championship game, and they get left out of the playoff, the ACC is going to say, why do we have this game?
Yeah.
Brett Lashley was on with Andy Staples this morning and said as much. Yeah. He's like, it'd be better if my team all caught COVID and we stayed home this weekend because we're guaranteed in.
Yeah. I saw an interesting, they were talking about the Big 12 game. We'll do one of Richard's favorite things about the get-in price. It's only $12 for the Big 12 championship game. Or the Big 10, I'm sorry. Big 10 championship game. $12 to get in the door. And somebody made a good point. They were like, if you're an Oregon fan, do you really want to fly all the way to Indianapolis when you know that if you win, you're going to be flying to Pasadena in 2 weeks, and then maybe have to fly somewhere else after that, and maybe you have to fly somewhere else after that, or you're going to have to go to a home game and then go. You see what I'm getting at? Penn State, same thing, right? Why would I want to spend a whole ton of money when I need to save up just in case we win that first round game? Or if we do win the Big 10 championship game, I got to pay to go to Pasadena or wherever. Why would I go to those teams are in the playoff? So we finally, after all the talk about how much it was going to devalue the regular season, no, this is what it devalues. And it doesn't devalue it in terms of those two teams want to go out there and win and play. They'd like to get the bye. It just devalues the ticket price of the championship game when you have two teams that are already in. Now, the Big 12 game is different. Right?
It's loser leaves town.
It's loser leaves town. Same with probably the same with the ACC, but SMU could survive. But the Big Ten and the SEC championship games, they're for a trophy.
And a bye, which is big. You don't want to play an extra game.
I guess, yeah. But that's it.
Somebody asked if Boise loses, UNL will be 12, Bama then left out. No, all will happen there is UNLV will take the spot currently occupied by Boise State.
Right.
They'll just switch places.
Yeah.
Won't make any difference there. Somebody says, man, I don't agree with anything this guy is saying. Talking about Taylor McCarg earlier, mentioning that SMU is still going to make it. SMU, come on. I'm here to tell you, even if it shouldn't be that way, The committee has already said out loud, strength of schedule does not matter. I was talking to somebody last night at the Connerly, and I think I've said it on this show before as well, but I'll say it again. I was mad. Frankly, I was mad at Ole Miss for canceling the USC game.
Mm-hmm. No, you should not.
Great call now.
Scott Strickland, for all his faults, one thing he always said that I agreed with was, I'd rather play those teams in December than September.
Especially now.
Yeah. You want to get to the postseason, and then you play a big-time matchup.
And now, then the 9 SEC conference games, if you're Zach Selman, if you're Keith Carter, if you're Hunter Yurachek, who's on the committee, if you're any AD in the SEC, and you look at how this has gone this year, which, by the way, they're going to look at how it's gone this year, and they're going to expand rather quickly. But in the meantime, how could you possibly vote in favor of adding 8 more losses to your league when they have said openly, strength of schedule does not matter? Record matters most. Why would you add 8 more losses? There's no point. And it's like, well, maybe they get more money. The SEC's already rich beyond measure. Attendance is not an issue. Ratings are unbelievable. That's not a guarantee anymore. No. Not until they go to 16 conference games with 5 or 16 playoff teams with 5 automatic bids for the SEC and the Big Ten. Then maybe they'll expand. No reason. If you're Zach Selman and you're Keith Carter, maybe you could have been swayed before. Not anymore. Not anymore.